a little bit extra defensive, a little bit extra careful, especially when he feels like he is the favorite. So let's do the interest now on the bottom left-hand side. In my opinion, the GOAT, it is Serral for ends.
That's how Cats made a whole bunch of Maru enemy fanboys today. In the top right side of Beckett Industries, we're looking at the main base of the Flying Dutchman, representing Team Liquid. It is Harstem.
Right, I'm piling on the low ground already, so looking to go for a gate expand. Not really catering to the map too much in terms of what Serral could be doing, maybe a 12 or something like that, and Serral actually going for a very, very fast gas.
Yeah, this is so fast. I'd be mortified. If I was Harstem, knowing this is Beckett, and I am going to this main base now and I see how quick that gas is, I mean, I'll be real Cats with you. I'm going to drop a Forge and 4 cannons and a Stargate and throw this out of my Void Ray. I mean, this is an incredibly quick gas. It's not even like, okay, it's 5 or 6 seconds quicker. It's a solid 20 seconds quicker. So if Serral wants, he could absolutely be hyper-aggressive with this opening. This is going to be a very scary game for Harstem to play, man.
Yeah, interestingly, Serral seemed to be considering that maybe... I think he was waiting for the probe of Harstem to show up in his main, and if it showed up, he would have taken the natural. But Harstem stayed and lingered in the natural base for like an extra couple of seconds, so Serral just goes and takes his third. Not what he wanted to do. He wanted to kind of get the mind game there in his favor. So already a decent start for Harstem, who will also spot the gas. And yeah, it's terrifying because it's Serral. But at the same time, if you're gonna sneak a map from Serral, maybe him doing something funky like this to start is the map to do it.
Yep, so this is obviously not an economic opening at all for Serral. His economy is going to be a lot worse, and you'll see it on most games where it's just hatchery first, and I guess it's 25-30 seconds later. The reason is obviously very simple. Those drones were now mining gas already, while normally they are supposed to be mining minerals this early on. Harstem doesn't really seem to be very panicked about anything yet. It's almost like he's reading this as, Serral wants me to think that he's all-inning me, then he's not all-inning me, and I'm going to put myself a bit further behind than I should be. But he's really not playing ultra defensive. Now, he is getting a robo in the back of his main base. That is very different. This is going to be a funny first game here, Cats.
Yeah, most definitely. Already walling off. They're willing to wall off with a second Cybercore just to prevent the Link Scout, basically, from Serral. So he really doesn't want Serral to be aware that there is a robo on the way. Maybe he's anticipating that Serral could do something like a Roach follow-up or something, or do you think that he's looking for his own aggression with this?
Yeah, I mean, if I was Harstem, I would absolutely read this as like a low drone Roach Ravager early game attack. That's kind of what I would expect, and maybe Harstem thinks that if Serral does do that and he's got a robo, he can crank out an Immortal, get a couple batteries up, and he's going to be fine. At this point, it doesn't seem like Serral actually wants to do something very aggressive. And this does make me really wonder, where is Harstem going to go with the robo? There's our robo bay. 3 minutes and 20 seconds on Beckett Industries, a robo bay. This is not standard, to say the least.
Not at all. If there was something like a Roach attack coming his way, something like a Roach Queen push or something like that, I mean, Disruptors this early could be amazing. I expect that it has to be Disruptors, right? Or do you think it's a very low unit Colossus push that we could see?
It could be like something that Zaun has done many times, right? Where it's like 2 Disruptor harass drop into a 2-base Colossus attack. That's kind of being figured out, but that's given, you know, the circumstances where everything is normal, and everything has not been normal in this game because A, it's Beckett. This map is very small, it's very choky as well. And B, Serral's economy was not as good early on. So Serral can just really rush up to 55 drones and still be ready for a potential 2-base all-in.
Yeah, I mean, Serral has only now gotten the drone advantage over Harstem by 4, so not a massive advantage either, and we will see those Disruptors. Also, the Warp Prism speed will be researched here, so Harstem will be able to apply some pressure with that. The bad things for Harstem, or good things for Serral rather, is with taking this forward third, he will have amazing creep spread that will be heads up for him in terms of like where the unit movement is happening from Harstem and where the Warp Prism can come from without being spotted. Now the first, just one Disruptor actually will go loaded into the Warp Prism, and Harstem will be looking for some damage, but will be spotted by like every unit.
I wonder if Harstem just wants to go up to 3 bases and try to stabilize on a couple of Immortals and Colossus. I guess it's not the worst thing. The one thing that would be very bad against, I think, is Muras, but it's also very scary for a Zerg to drop a Spire on Beckett because the map is so small. Here comes that first Nova, completely whiffs, not even a single drone. That's a bit unfortunate for Harstem.
Yeah, I mean, Serral's reaction as fast as it could be, but obviously he had every sort of heads up. So, yeah, unfortunately for Harstem there, maybe he could have just not even dropped the Nova, anticipating that Serral would move his drones as fast as he did. Now he is trying, like you said, to restabilize, to try to take that third base. It's gonna be relatively easy for now, but Serral is making some roaches. And there's the Colossus follow-up that you were also talking about, Kev. So maybe Harstem can still do a pseudo 2-base push or something like that, because this Disruptor has not paid off yet at all.
No, it's actually kind of bizarre to see a Disruptor opening with a Speed Prism not get a single kill. I believe that Disruptor has 0 kills at this point. That's just unheard of. And there is the Spire that I mentioned. I think it's kind of hard to comfortably drop this and just hope that Harstem won't attack you. Because if he does attack you, that obviously means that you spend some resources into a Spire that won't help out in the defense. But maybe he just feels that Harstem is by nature a macro-oriented Protoss and he is not going to go all out. Serral makes 11 drones right when Harstem knocks on the edge of creep to perhaps just push back the creep a little bit because his army isn't that big. But that has to be a little bit scary, even if you're Serral.
Yeah, and so he's gonna more 4 Ravagers. That's what he had available to do. Just spend a lot of gas, which means not enough or less gas to work with when the Spire is done for those potential Muta. But I think the main purpose of the Spire here is just going to be to mitigate against this Warp Prism. The drones evacuate before anything happens. The poor, yeah, I mean, the Disruptor at that point just shouldn't even fire, but Harstem's like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I already dropped it. I already made my way here unspotted, and still Serral is going to react as fast as possible. So
it's one of these things that's really hard to put in words on why what we are witnessing is special, but I cannot believe that an excellent Protoss like Harstem has opened up with a Disruptor, a Speed Prism on the tiniest map possible, got in there twice, and has not gotten a single kill. That just really goes to show how good Serral is, because he's just so ready for it. He's so good in keeping track of things. And the first Mutas are on the way, and at this point, Harstem has still absolutely no idea. I thought there was a hallucinated Phoenix heading towards the main base, but maybe it got picked up by the Queens. But this is really bad, man, because right now Harstem has nothing that is good against Mutas. And I almost feel the moment he sees the Mutas, he just needs to go all in, because if this turns into a macro game, he's going to lose too many workers.
Yeah, this is absolutely the worst case scenario for Harstem. The one glimmer of hope is that his last warping was 3 Stalkers, and that is the best 3 units that he's gonna have in his army against the Muta that are incoming. Serral is likely to force this into a sort of like checkmatey type move, where if he goes into the mineral lines of Harstem with the Muta, he will force Harstem to all in with his army, and that's exactly what Serral is going to do. So like you were saying, now Harstem has to go in. His army is still good. He has a lot of force fields to work with. So maybe he can work some magic.
It really comes down to how good the balls are, right? The Disruptors need to make the difference here. We've got 2 Novas. First one goes through the right, but Serral does a phenomenal job in avoiding it. The other Nova kind of whiffs as well. I mean, Jonas Sotala is just putting on an absolute masterclass here on how to deal with a funky opening. The Mutas are going to town on everything that Harstem has in the main base. Roach is getting on top of the Colossus. This army is not good enough to keep all the Roaches and Ravages at bay. Serral is obviously losing a few units here and there. The Nova kills the Colossus just to make things go from bad to worse. And the first game is all over. My goodness, how does one man make such a complicated game look so simple? It is truly beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, even to the last little details, right? Like, we look at the army of Harstem getting into the position that it usually wants to get into, and there's no rocks there. That means instead of 1 force field, you have to spend, well, he ended up spending 4 to kind of try to wall the army of Serral there, but Serral's just ready for everything. Every step, he was just 3 steps ahead, it felt like, and Harstem, yeah, I mean, it didn't feel like he stood any chance in that game.
Nope. And if you guys wonder why did Harstem commit to that attack when maybe he didn't really have to, it's impossible not to take a crazy amount of damage against Mutas when your Stalkers don't even have Blink. Like, defending against Mutas with Blink Stalkers is annoying, but very doable. Without Blink, it just becomes a really, really painful adventure. Mutas obviously is going to circle around the Nexus. They will keep on finding damage, and by the time that Harstem stabilizes, Serral will have Brood Lords or something. Like, it's a no-go, so Harstem kind of had to send it. And what I found most impressive, I was already impressed by the fact that he was so ready for the initial disrupted drops, didn't lose a drone, but avoiding that Nova that went through the acceleration zone. I mean, a famous meme on my stream is always Jonas saying, "How fast are those balls?" What? But he actually did an amazing job. He just kind of calculated where it went and somehow made a little gap between his army, and it barely connected with anything. Watching
I think
Serral
one
was a work
circling
of
or
art.
something died, yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, when you only have 2 disruptor shots, like you said, they had to be magical. Serral just biding his time, doing everything that he needed to do right. And let's see if he can do it again. In the bottom left-hand side, it is one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, Serral for Ents.
And in the top right side, we are looking at the main base of the Dutchman, who, even if he loses this 0-2, is still absolutely in the running for a top 4 finish in this group, and thus making another playoff appearance. This is Harstem.
Do you find, Brody, that Serral likes the Queen Walks much? Because this is Queen Walk kind of paradise.
I think I heard Lambo say the other day that it's actually kind of funny, but out of all the things, Serral's actually not that great at Queen Walks. Like, he's obviously good at it, but for how good he is at other much more difficult elements of the game, his Queen Walk is actually a bit weaker compared to the rest of his game. He does like it, he does do it, often to still great success. But if you ask me, who is a better Queen Walker? Is it Vanya or Serral? Actually, no Kappa. I think it's Vanya. I mean that.
Yeah, very well could be. I mean, it comes down to how much you rehearse things. And yeah, I don't know Serral to be a very Queen Walkie type person, and maybe he doesn't need to be, right? Like when your win rate's as good as it is, especially in this matchup, when you don't even need to mention that you need to prepare in this matchup. Yeah, it really says something, and it really says something for the chances of the Dutch as well in this one. But let's hope that he can pull something together, and maybe in the absence of Queen Walks, he can do something. But also, this is the type of map that I'm like, I look at Protoss to go for the air type styles, and Harstem usually transitions to that off of ground based compositions. Like, he doesn't strike me as the type of Protoss that's just kind of like super dirty with the transitions, right?
No, it feels like Harstem has maybe proxy Stargate intentions or something, because there is a probe on the left side of Jagannatha, and this is very odd. This is not supposed to be there, but it's almost too late for a proxy Stargate, because the cybernetics core is done already. So what is Harstem going to do with that probe? I'm so confused. Is that just for a gateway and some very quick reinforcements?
Could very well be. I mean, it could be a Dark Shrine later down the line or something like that, but it feels like it maybe the Twilight Council should have gone down already. So,
where is Harstem gonna take this? It is cool to see that he came in with a plan. I was a bit worried, because if I think of what Harstem is good at in this game, it's going to be a proxy robo. Wow, that's so crazy. You really don't see that very often in this matchup. But normally Harstem strikes me as the guy that just wants to get 3-4 bases up and running, go for a couple of Zealot run-bys, find some damage, and get a big, beefy Protoss army. But that's just kind of an issue, because Serral is such a good Zerg in the late game. According to many pros, Serral is just the very best late game player in the world in this matchup. So maybe Harstem is just going outside of his own comfort zone, where he's like, I don't normally do this, but I actually think this is my best chance here, and I don't hate it.
yeah, I definitely appreciate it when players try to do that, because, you know, like if you know yourself and how you stack up against Serral, obviously on the ladder, right? Like they gotta face each other constantly. So if he sees no chance there to try something different, even at the expense of maybe your own comfort and how good you can execute it, I do like it. There's gonna be an immortal proxy of all things. I mean, this is highly unconventional.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be like a 6-gate all-in with an Immortal and a Prism. But I feel like Serral's already expecting something to be up. That Roach Warren felt quite early to me. He's like, I just don't really see a whole lot. And I'm actually kind of expecting these links to go for a little tour around the map. Because at this point, Serral's going to be like, if you wanted to go Oracle, I would have already seen them. If you want to go up to 3 bases, I would have already seen them. Like, something weird is happening. Serral's not quite sure what. But because he knows something weird is up, he's already making a lot of links. And he can now actually start cranking out the roaches too. He is dropping a Spore Crawler though, so he's clearly a bit confused about what Harstem is doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I love from Harstem, right? The positioning of the buildings here, like his main looks completely empty, right? Like the Overlord goes in. He does. Serral did spot the pylon in the back, which might also proc them to kind of think about Harstem is trying to hide stuff from me. But I love the forethought of Harstem, just not to have buildings very scoutable. And
he's gonna find it. He's definitely gonna find it right now, because there's a circling on the right side at some patrol, and I thought he was gonna send links to the left, but maybe he changed the rally point, so he still doesn't know. I mean, this is such a bizarre build by Harstem. He's gonna have a lot of sentries, a lot of immortals. Serral's still completely in the dark. I don't think he has overdroned, but he needs Ravagers here, cats, and he doesn't have any Ravagers yet. Oh my god, he still hasn't seen it. How is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, this is this is just gonna show up unannounced for Harstem in production. 3 queens from Serral, now 18 Zerglings will be the reaction. 1 Ravager is being morphed at the natural base, but it will not come in handy for a little while. This is a very wide open area, though. Harstem definitely is going to be looking for better chokeholds if he is to make this work. Maybe walk into the natural, maybe walk up the ramp or something like that. Prevent those Ravagers from going up would be fantastic to start, but now all the links are popping up. The Ravagers have spawned, and oh my god, he is just kind of force-fielding himself to death now.
Yeah, 26 Zerglings are on the way, which I think is an excellent choice. Maybe Harstem got a little bit over-eager there, going right before the prism was ready. And even though Serral was in the dark, was confused,